A-Man, say man. This is the A-Man Show back at it again for more banger content. The Boston Celtics ended their season on an heinous note. I low-key thought that the Boston Celtics were going to be the first team ever to come back from a 3-0 deficit, but apparently I was wrong. Celtics got mollywopped on their home floor in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And so, after this embarrassing loss, the Celtics have big questions regarding their star player in Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown has been in rumors regarding his departure from Boston because of contract issues, and because of that, it became the biggest question for this organization, whether or not they can still compete for a title without Jaylen Brown. Which is why in this video, we're finna discuss why the Boston Celtics have a huge decision to make this offseason. And before this video starts, make sure y'all subscribe. I post NBA and NFL content. Turn on post notifications so that way y'all stay tuned for more videos I put out. Anyways, stay tuned and let's get the video started. The 2023 Boston Celtics has to be the most insufficient talented team I have ever seen. The Celtics during the regular season, even though they've won more games due to the added talent they signed and traded during the prior offseason, they looked as if they gotten worse. And the reason why I think that, because throughout the regular season they lost to below 500 teams, uncharacteristically so, way too many times, and during March, in the last 7 losses, they have blown leads by 14 points 5 games straight. That is unacceptable. Even when they display lackadaisical defense in offensive possessions where they don't even have a plan on what play they should run on offense, they were still top 3 in both offensive and defensive rating and finished the regular season with a 57-25 record. In the postseason, their problems was later magnified, especially against the Hawks in the first round, where in Game 5, where they blew a 13-point lead to Atlanta to extend the series to 6, even though the Hawks have no fucking business forcing the Celtics to a Game 6. And then we go to Philly, where in Game 1, without Embiid, where the Celtics allowed a 40 ball from Harden, and then through Game 4 to Game 6, the Celtics will uncharacteristically lose, including several defensive lapses in OT in Game 4, and they will get mollywopped in Game 5 at their home court. Because of the inconsistencies of both Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and the whole team jacking up threes and the lack of effort defensively at times, I was still surprised of how the Celtics still pulled it off in the second round, even with the inadequacies on both offense and defense. Luckily, they went up against 2 of the biggest chokers in the NBA in both Joel Embiid and James Harden. And yet for the Celtics, talent prevailed, but against the Miami Heat, not so much. And that series really proved that talent only gets you so far. The Miami Heat, with inadequate talent, smacked the living shit out of the Celtics because they were more disciplined, better prepared, better coached, and better at executing. And my God, there's a reason why the Celtics are the weirdest, most insufficient talented team I have ever seen. Because they believe that they are more talented than everyone else in the league, so they decide to be fancy with them threes because they live and die by the 3. No wonder Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have been inconsistent throughout the playoffs. And also, that's one of the main reasons why the Celtics keep on blowing leads during the regular season. The Celtics live and die by the 3, and when they make fewer than 12 threes, they are a staggering 0-5 in the playoffs. And that goes to show you that they don't make adjustments when their threes are not falling. In this postseason alone, the Celtics, with the second best record in the league this year, had a losing record of 4-7. For some reason, the Celtics can't close out games in the playoffs at their home court. So now the Celtics have a huge decision with this roster this offseason, specifically the duo of Brown and Tatum. Jaylen Brown has 1 more year left of his contract, and he is due for a 5-year, $295 million deal because he made second team All-NBA in the regular season. And Tatum, who made third team All NBA this year, is due for a 5-year, $315 million deal, which is both the highest in NBA history. For Brown's instance, the way that he played in the playoffs, especially him getting outplayed by Caleb Martin, and the guy has been a turnover machine in the playoffs. He averaged more turnovers than assists. And I'm not finished. The guy in Game 7 and in the Eastern Finals had one of the worst games by a star player ever. The man had 19 points, but he shot 8 for 23 shooting, 11% from 3, and he had 8 turnovers. 8 turnovers. That's 5th highest in playoff history. And it's not just Game 7. In Game 2, he only put up 16 points, but on 30% shooting. And then in the very next game, at Miami's home floor, he will put up another stinker in Game 3, where he put up just 12 points on 35% shooting from the field. And although he will play pretty solid through Game 4 to Game 6, but in Game 7, put up another anus performance at home court. This is the same guy that the Brooklyn Nets tried to trade for in exchange for Kevin Durant. Jaylen Brown went from being one of the most underrated players in the NBA to one of the most overrated after this series. It is clear that Brown is the second option, not the first option, and honestly, that series he had against the Heat, that conversation is dead in the water when we are talking about who's the true first option on the team. When the game is on the line, I don't think you can trust Jaylen Brown with the ball in his hands because for some reason, the guy cannot control the basketball. Every time he makes a crossover move, he turns it over. Behind the back dribble, he turns it over. And that's why he has been a subpar playmaker due to his inability to handle the ball for a long period of time. And because of that, I'm really skeptical if Brad Stevens were to give him this lucrative deal to Brown. Because once they sign this dude along with Tatum, it will make them one of the most capped teams in the league. I mean, bottom 5 to bottom 3 in the league in terms of cap space. And with that, in a few years, they will not have this deep of a team because of the Brown and Tatum contract. You have to pay Al Horford, pay Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White, Marcus Smart, Robert Williams. There's no way that Boston is going to retain these guys in the future if they've signed both Brown and Tatum to these mega max deals. Look at Golden State when they won a chip last year. They signed Jordan Poole on a 4-year, $125 million deal. And then you add that with Klay Thompson's max deal, even though it's expiring. Then Curry's contract. And then Draymond Green's max deal, and also Andrew Wiggins' max deal worth over $100 million. The contract situation last year was so bad to the point that they can't keep Otto Porter, Mamaja Belicisha, and other role guys that was instrumental for the Warriors championship run last year, and then had one of the worst benches in the league this year due to a lack of a bench because they couldn't sign more key role players, and because of that, we are witnessing the collapse of the Warriors dynasty. Now for Boston, it may not be as bad as Golden State, but bro, signing 2 guys on nearly $300 million deals that can put the Celtics over the salary cap, and like I said, they will not be able to retain these key role players on the roster, which means over the years the team is going to get worse and worse, which will later cause either Tatum or Brown to request a trade. With the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference, I don't think they can truly win if Brown is their second option on the team. So the Celtics definitely have a huge decision to make as far as their future goes. I don't think it's worth it to sign Jaylen Brown this large of a deal, especially how he played in the entire playoffs. And as far as future goes, they're not going to win if Miami or even the Milwaukee Bucks at full power is in the same conference as them in the next few years. And I think it's better for the Celtics to trade Jaylen Brown this offseason or midseason. If Brown wants out of Boston this offseason or even mid-season next season and wants to be the man on the team like the Houston Rockets, for example, I heard that Brown wants to play for Ime Udoka at Houston, so it's the most likely trade scenario for Jaylen Brown to go towards. I'm hoping that the Celtics trade for Damian Lillard because that will be a perfect fit for this Celtics offense, and especially with Jason Tatum because he's a way better playmaker and ball handler than Jaylen Brown. And plus, he has only 2 more years of his contract if the Celtics were to make a trade to get him this offseason. But anyways, guys, the Celtics have a difficult choice to make with this duo. With the Heat and the Bucks not going away, I just don't think it's worth it to sign Jaylen Brown to that deal, which will mean that they will have to trade Jaylen Brown away. If I was Brad Stevens, I can't afford to keep both of them in the long run, especially if each of them makes over $60 million a year in the next 5 years. It's not a risk worth taking. So if that's the case, then we will be witnessing the breakup of a dynamic duo in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And that's the video. What do y'all think about this vid? Do y'all see Jaylen Brown get traded this offseason? Let me know in the comment section below, and make sure y'all subscribe for more content I put out. My goal is to hit 1,000 subs by the end of the year, so I will really appreciate it if y'all subscribe and smash the like button. And also turn on post notifications, and that is all. Stay litty. This is the A-Man Show. Sign out.